process. We depended on EDI ordering. And so when we started shopping around for a new ILS, EDI ordering was a must-have. At that time, Koha didn't have it. They had the code, but it wasn't in the community release yet. So Bywater added custom code to our 3.22 release, and we were able to migrate with the basic EDI stuff that they had in there. We migrated in April of last year, so we've been on it for a little more than a year. And we have three main vendors, Ingram, Midwest Tape, and Findaway. And the thing to remember with your vendors is the vendor has to do EDI ordering in order for you to do EDI ordering. So Amazon doesn't do EDI ordering. I've discovered that Blackstone Audio doesn't do EDI ordering. So you can't do it with, you've got to find vendors that have it. The big ones, Ingram, Baker and Taylor, and Brodart, the two B's ones. They all do it. Midwest Tape does. What was Emery Pratt? Yeah. And so those are. So Emery Pratt does too. Yeah. And Emery Pratt does, and there is a plugin. Kyle has written a plugin for Emery Pratt as well as Brodart, I think. Okay, okay. All right, that's great. So that's kind of our story, if you will. Then why use EDI for the acquisitions module? It automates, EDI automates a number of steps in the acquisitions process. This does two things. It saves time and it reduces errors. So those are two really big things to do that. Also, with EDI ordering, you end up with what we call brief records, just little short records that you can put into your catalog at the time of order so that patrons can know and staff can know what's been ordered and what's coming soon to the library. We allow patrons to put holds on those items that are on order but haven't arrived in the library. They're clearly marked as on order in our catalog so they know what they're doing. And the theory behind that, which we've proven is still just a theory, is that we won't get as many purchase suggestions for the new things. People will see that they're there, but still. Yes. Yes, this is true. Okay, so to get started, so you'll need to gather information from each vendor that you want to do EDI with. Bywater Solutions has a questionnaire, and if you can go through that questionnaire and answer all those questions, you will have all the information you need to set up this plugin. If you're a Bywater Solutions client, you'll need to complete that questionnaire, and there is a $500 per vendor one-time setup charge, which they will earn their money in that $500. Anybody that set up EDI will attest to that. That's money well spent right there. So those are like the front end of what you need to do, and you will these slides will be available later, and so then you can follow that link. I don't want to take the time to actually do that now. Then in Koha, you'll need to set up a couple of preferences. The first one is the ACK create item. Okay, so this is what it looks like. You have three options for this. You can creating an item, when you're placing an order, when you're cataloging the record, and when you're receiving an order. You can pick one of those. We have our system set up to create the item when you place an order. We selected this one primarily to allow patrons to place holds on items that are on order. It allows people to see how many copies that you're actually ordered, and yeah, again, theoretically, it will reduce the number of patron suggestions. So that's one thing that you'll need to do. Then the other one is mark fields to order. So this is preferences that allow you to specify the values for the acquisitions record, that little brief record that I mentioned. You can tell it what fields you want to. Right now, I think I looked at the documentation for 1611, I think it was. I think, or maybe it was 1705, I can't remember. But the only fields that are available to populate are price, quantity, budget code, discount, sort 1, and sort 2. So I know you guys are.
Yeah, so in 1705, that's a Great Lakes standard.
Okay, so this must have been 1611 that I looked at.
The other thing with 1705 is it will allow you to create multiple items when you order. So if you're ordering for, let's say, 3 different branches or 3 budget codes or something, that can all be done.
Okay.
Yes. It is now.
Jesse.
There's going to be a new system preference, so you'll have this one, the mark fields to order, then you'll also have mark fields to other items. So you'll have 2 separate ones.
Okay.
So you can do it at the item level
As Fargo's doing. Okay.
Right,
And that's basically to facilitate branches, specifying where they go in different branches and things like that. We were able to just run with this because we only had the one location. So, but Fargo needed, they've got the branches, so they needed that enhancement to go on that. Okay, so, okay, then you need to work with your vendor to specify the mark fields in your 2 order records that reflect. Okay, so you set them up in the preferences in Koha, but then you got to tell the vendor, oh yeah, this is where we want these specific things to go. So there's lots of back and forth with your vendor, talking to them, setting up things, testing things, that kind of thing. If you haven't set up your grid information, which if you're using acquisitions at all, you've probably got grid information set up, with the vendor, but you need to make sure that that is set up. And then you need to set up well, you don't have to. You can set up a mark modification template for acquisitions import. Where I'm standing, I never can see that little cursor thing. Okay. So this is an example of our acquisitions template. Basically what it does is the very first line in here is set up to put this after the title on order. And that we had that in our previous ILS, and so our customers were used to that. So we set it up so that in Koha it would do that as well, so that it's like kind of in their face that this is something that's on order. And then they know that if I place an order on this isn't something I'm going to get quickly. So yeah, we decided that number 3, we're really not sure what that's doing, but but yeah, number 1 is the one that gets that order thing in. But that's the kind of thing that you can do. It's stuff that your vendor, the options that your vendor has for you don't allow. We couldn't touch the title in the vendor specifications to send stuff in our setup on their site. So we were able to do it with the acquisitions template. So that's the kind of thing that's going on there. Okay, so theoretically, I was going to click on a little button and we'd see a video, but like I said, that was theoretically. Okay, so I am going to do it this way. Okay, so I sweet talked our acquisitions person into doing a little Jing video for me, and this is going to show you what it looks like to order something with EDI. Okay, so, and hopefully we've got volume. No, we don't. Hang on.
And we are going to open our acquisitions module. Once we're here, we are going to look for our vendor that we're purchasing from today, find the way. And we are going to create a basket for this order. New basket. We usually give it the date and the selector's initials. And we're going to select our contract. We just have one contract. We are going to save that basket. Now we need to go and get our mark records and add to our basket. We are going to open our tools module. And we are going to stage our mark records for import. We in our downloads folder, there they are. And we're going to open that file and upload it. I'm going to add my initials to the comments. And we are going to choose our template, CQ import template. And we're going to make sure we get a strict ISBN matching. And add our incoming records. Not going to check for embedded item record data. And we are going to choose stage for import. Okay, and we've got 3 records in our file, which is what we should have. So we're going to go back to our basket and choose add to basket. And we're going to choose from stage file. It's right here at the top, our find a way file with our 3 records and add orders. All right, and here are the 3 items we're adding. We're going to choose select all. And we're going to edit these items. We're going to let people in our catalog know that they're ordered. And we're going to choose the item type. Item type is fully weight. And we're going to save that. Okay, I'm going to take that over. And this is our order. You can see what titles we're ordering, what price we're paying. Just give it one more look over, make sure you have the correct quantities here. And everything looks good, so all you have to do now is create your order. Button up here for create edit back order. If you have one more contract, just want to double check and make sure we just have one. So we have our correct contract. We're going to create the edit back order. I'm going to select that contract one more time and then send our EDI order. And once you're done, you can close your basket. And you can see our order has been added right here in our Find-A-Way world. Outstanding orders at the bottom, and that is how you EDI order in Koha. Thanks.
Okay. Now, go back to our PowerPoint. So then the next thing is you wait. So this is the opportunity, as you all know, what librarians do is we read. So this is your chance to get your book and read. Okay, so then,
I have one question.
Yeah.
You must have set up in your acquisitions template what fund codes to apply. Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's the step I'm missing there. Because I
Okay.
always have to go in and apply. So if I set up an acquisitions template, that will fill that in automatically.
yeah, we can look at that later. Okay, all right, so while you're sitting waiting, magically, an invoice, well, depending on your vendor, they will send an electronic invoice either right before the items ship or right after the items ship, but sometime right in that shipping, when they're getting shipped, they will send an invoice. This invoice it's an electronic invoice that Koha will go out and it gets sent to an FTP server. That Koha goes out to that FTP server, pulls it into Koha, and creates an electronic invoice, which looks, it has all the same information that the paper invoice does, which will show up a couple days later in your email or whatever, however you get it. But this is what an electronic invoice in Koha looks like. And it gives you all the information you need. When this invoice is received, that is when your money in acquisitions gets moved from ordered to spent. Your budgets, the budget money will get moved at that point. So when the order is placed, however much this $80.43 was put in the ordered, it was encumbered, exactly, encumbered column for this particular budget, which is this one, children's books, except picture book, however that. So that, but then when the invoice is received, that money gets moved from encumbered or ordered to spent. So the other thing that happens, oops, okay, hang on. I don't know why it's going back there. Okay. Then the other thing that happens is in the baskets, if you look at the baskets, they'll be marked as received. See how the first three, they've got nothing in front of the title, and then this next two have received RCVD in parentheses in front of those. So these two items have, if we don't have them in the library, they're on a slow boat from China, you know how that goes. So those two are on their way, and you can, if you look at the basket list, this particular basket would indicate that it just has 3 items still waiting to be received. The other little thing in mustard color or whatever is we had Kyle help us set up our Ingram stuff so that the note that's in Ingram that our selectors put in Ingram, that note gets transferred to the internal note on our invoice, so that sometimes, so the RPLC, that's a replacement. Sometimes it's replacement with hold, so the acquisition person would look at that and go, oh, this is a high priority, let me get that to the cataloger right away. Or, it'll say bestseller, oh, that's a high priority, let's get that to the cataloger right away. We also have that note put in the non-public note of the item, so that when the cataloger is working with it, and we stick a multitude of dots on our children's books, the cataloger will put in that field, blue dot. In Texas, we've got Bluebonnet books, all that kind of stuff. All those notes get transferred so that the cataloger can see that and stick all those, process them properly.
And so those are notes that your selectors are adding to the items when they're ordering them, or to building their cart.
When they're building their carts.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's coming in the 942. No.
I had,
Well, we made it work.
yeah, he made
We made it work.
of stuff.
Yeah, so, things, EDI enhancements that, things that are coming in the future, okay, we already addressed the first one with, Fargo. They're adding, additional, well, I guess it's not gonna be field.
No, it has additional fields.
It does, okay.
It has a different
Okay. Okay, and then there's a development in the queue, us, Monterey, and you guys, suggested that we have the integration between, purchase suggestions and EDI ordering. Right now, if you do an EDI order, you can't connect the purchase suggestion so that the customer, if you do the regular, just acquisitions, you can connect those purchase suggestions to the order so that the customer knows when it was ordered, when it would arrive. They get all these notices. But with EDI ordering, you can't do any of that. So we've chosen not to do it for regular ordering because that would just, why did I get this notice with this one and not that one and that kind of thing. But we really would like that feature because I think our patrons would really enjoy it. The other thing is some vendors do send electronic cancellation notices, and right now Koha can't deal with those. It would really be great if they could handle those cancellation notices.
So that is a terrible issue for me with paper. There's no sending, those monthly reports, and I look at stuff and it says they're canceled, so I'm going to go on and cancel it, and then it shows up 2 months later. So suddenly I've got this item that I thought was canceled, and I've got to go back in and recreate a purchase order for it.
Yes.
Especially more of a problem with vendors.
That's, yes.
Well, I visualized that.
Yeah. Okay.
Before I move on,
Yeah.
the things we'd like EDI to do,
Yes.
I don't, one for us,
Okay.
I don't want to take the presentations, is the receiving process.
Yeah.
Like right now, it's as soon as you get an invoice, it's received, and you don't have it in the building. So,
Right.
One of the things we're looking to sponsor, once we're kind of on the far side of the market, is order development is another step where when you get them, you go through and you check boxes and say these items.
Oh, okay.
So you look at that order, you check all, get received, and then
That would be good because there is many a slip twist the company.
So I was going to comment that we use feedback ordering. We started it 1 year before you and followed the same process.
Okay.
Custom build. But we don't use EDI receiving.
Oh, okay.
And, that's, we're not that big. So I'm still doing it manually because we have a lot of things that change between when the order happens and when we receive it. And also we use Baker Taylor, and because we have a lot of fun codes, and I get quotes giving me, order 2 for this one and 3 for that one. And you basically have to do that manually. You can't, because it can't transfer over. Yeah. But I mean, it's kind of it's not that, it doesn't take that long, but even if it just has a checkbox at the top that says receive all, that would help us.
That would really
Well, and
help.
that's the thought, is to have the checkbox that says receive all, or you can check them individually. Because that's what you want to know, is that it's all.
Select all and check off once it's
And your first issue too, that you mentioned, check the 1705 developments on one order, because that will allow you to create items at time of order and create those items.
Yeah, that's great. I like that.
We're up to 7.
Okay. So I'm going to talk through the onboarding process. And again, it's a matter of saving time and reducing errors. A lot of the stuff is automated and comes in. As Rhonda mentioned, we have these 5 overlays. And when we're set up with our vendors, primarily Ingram and Midwest Tape, and they provide us with a final record And we had set it up so it only overlays the, excuse me, the brief record. If there's another record in the catalog, the same ISBNs and whatnot, it will ignore that. If you need those merged later, you can do that. That's when we handle our process. This overlay that we have set up is only to overlay that new mark record coming in, overlaying the on-order brief record. And what I want to say about that. And the other big thing that we find is most helpful is the item information is updated. So ensure your bib numbers are correctly done. You need to look at your EPO message. This is the EDI message that goes out. This is one line in it. And I learned to read these things when we first set up the EDI or other ILS. But if you notice the left-hand box is the bib number, and the second is the item number. And this is just a single line out of the long EDI message that is transmitted to the vendor. Yeah. Yeah. So, and you can see in an EDI order message, we can order multiple items. You've got the same duplicated bib number, but the item numbers are different. We're transmitting this information to the vendor so that when they set it as a final mark record, that's put into a 952 field that updates the item records. The other thing that you're going to need to do is you're going to, I should come back to the, you're going to need to set up your record specification with your vendors so that your koha fields are updated. You've got the bib number in it, the item number. The item number, you can't save a record without an item typed in there. And the bib number is where you make a match on, and your item fields. And then I set up mark modification templates. And I use different ones for different purposes. Yeah, go back if you can, because this is where I sent my specifications to Ingram, and we have all those accounts. I specified it out, but even though it's very specific, it took a long time working with the vendor to get them to put the proper information in the proper fields. So be prepared for delays. It's not easy. And even now, I had a vendor who just for some reason or another reverted back to an old setting. And I said, okay. And one of the things is that they'll make the change, but the change only happens on any orders that are input into their system after you. So work in small batches in the beginning. It really helps to try and do it. But of course, you also reach a point where you've got to get stuff ordered. So we ended up with different things. So on the mark modification templates, this first action that I did is because of that whole problem. I never knew for that particular catalog record what information the vendor was actually putting in what fields. And koha, when that record comes in, they don't copy or retain the 952 in the marked bibliographic. So what I finally ended up resorting to is copying the 952 into a 962 So I didn't have to go to find the file, open up and mark edit to see what they were doing wrong so that I could communicate with the vendor about getting stuff done. The other thing is during the process, they made different things. So the last couple of actions are just things that used temporarily, like I knew that they were putting this information in this field that's going to be wrong. I wanted to change to this. And that took care of that interim stuff on orders that were going to be coming in but weren't affected by the corrections that they were supposed to be making. So one of the biggest things you want to do when you're getting started is to define your matching rule. This is the matching rule that we use. It's match on the bid number, which is located in the 999C field. We give it the strictest scoring we can give, which is 1,000. And we don't use anything else, but this is what controls that overlay of the brief records onto a specific mark field, a specific mark bid record. So just be prepared for hiccups. So the actual cataloging process really begins with staging the final records and the settings to mark records staging to ensure bid to bid and item to item matches. I'm rushing because I know we're only short time. Now we'll skip the video.
Okay.
This is an example of the before record that we have. You can see where the 9C is. This is the example of the before item record. You can see just it's very limited information in it. Actually, usually we get a price on it, which is our discounted price, but we don't use the discounted price in our item records. We want the final price because that's what we would charge patrons. And so that's corrected. So I stage by mark records, normal process. And I make a comment. I take mark 8 because that gives me the best display when I'm getting records from Ingram. And I use the mark, that's the template that I use for adult nonfiction. And this is the key. The 99C matching rule at the beginning, of course, replace existing record with incoming record. Add incoming record if you don't find one, which I thought had happened, but I can remember. And then, of course, I wanted to check for embedded item information. And then the key is to replace items if the matching bid was found. And then only overlay the items based on the item number that we had transmitted to the things. This is more of the staging process. And you can see exactly what is going to be happening to those records. And this is what after you imported them, again, koha gives you a little report right then or there. I would like, I'm sorry, I should have mentioned, I would like, can you go back to screen? I would like it like here on this list of records that are about to be imported, if they have the checkbox. Then I could say select all, but oh no, I don't want this one. I don't know why somebody put that on this file. Usually that happens when somebody's importing a CLC records or something like that. Not from EDI. EDI is pretty standard, but for other purposes, I wish that they could do that. So this is my after record by mark, and as you can see, what I did was add the 962. This is my item number. It's in subfield 9, I believe, and of course the bid number. Those are the two critical pieces of information that are transferred. But according to my specification, Ingram has given all these things, including the barcode, because we get that pre-processed from them. Our I-type, this is the code -6 for in processing, because we move our books from on order to in processing. And then this is the collection code and location code. And our source of funding, it's the local purchase. So all of this information can be put into this 962 to set it up for the vendor. Updates all of the item information. And this is pretty much what that previous on-order item is now filled out. And you get all numbers from the vendor. That's those put in.
And when you're saying vendor, you're saying.
I'm sorry. This
So
particular is
you were getting these like from OCLC or Skyward.
No, we don't have the ability to do OCLC. That's just, we don't pay for that sort of access. And Sky River, I don't know about. But you can do a lot of things with the import source. You could, even if you wanted to, you could set up some sort of functionality in Mark Edit. But things like price for an individual item changes, so you can't set a default price.
I mean, some of this is somewhat similar, but because we use Sky River, which is a AAA, a lot cheaper than OCLC, but I don't know if that's good. So when I'm doing the import for Baker and Taylor, you know, I'm creating item records when I do that import. And then my catalogers, you know, when the stuff comes in and they're cataloging, they're in Sky River adding a couple of fields.
When you say you're doing your item information, are you talking about the template?
Yes.
The thing is that
I'm not going to template this because through the grid and the matching of the email.
Yeah. There are different ways to do it. This is just our process. That's pretty much how we worked before. But one thing is templates do not update an item record. So, and of course, it would only be generic information. It wouldn't be item specific. So if somebody selector put a particular note on an item, it can be handled by them. We find this process works really well for us. For any